do not search up what happened in the year 1913. That's the year they took over, and just 1 year later in 1914, World War I started. Actually, you might not even be able to search up what really happened in 1913 with mainstream search engines like Google. So instead, I head over to Emergent so we can make our own unfiltered, uncensored, and ad-free search engine that tells us everything. Just tell it something like, build me a search engine that filters out ads, paid search indexing, and shows us the deep buried info of the internet that popular search engines censor from us. It does some thinking, asks me a few questions, and okay, there we go. We just built Truth Search. Google debunkers, look away. Well, let's give it a shot. What really happened in the year 1913? Let's go. Okay, so just like most search engines, we have an AI summary at the top here, but don't worry, it seems to have added source links to each, so we don't get hallucinations or slop here. So first up, we got the Federal Reserve, which officially began on December 23rd, 1913, when President Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law. There's a source link, and yep, we have an overview of the Federal Reserve right there. Which, funny enough, the Federal Reserve happens to be neither federal nor a reserve, the misleading naming of which was actually very intentional. So what exactly is it? To put it simply, it's a centralized private bank that controls all of our money and determines its value. That's step one. Next, we have the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, the government's official extortion agency, aka give us money or we'll throw you in jail, that was also created in 1913. That's the year they started taxing us for good, making federal income tax permanent and by law with the 16th Amendment. For all the high IQ big brains out there, I think you know where this is going. If not, let me spell it out for you. Because that very same year, the Rockerfeller Foundation was also created under the guise of philanthropy, making the world a better place, by John D. Rockefeller, America's first billionaire, while at the same time highly influencing the research and development of education, medicine, and science in the country through generous donations, leading to the creation of new organizations like the American Cancer Society, ACS, which was also founded in 1913, a charity funded by the richest people in the country to pave the way to the start of the pharmaceutical industry. Enter Big Pharma. The ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which tells people what they can and can't talk about, censoring ideas they don't agree with and silencing critics, was also created in, let's hear you say it, 1913. And then just a year later in 1914, we get the start of World War I, the first war in history in which private companies profited from wartime efforts. Say hello to the military-industrial complex, giving the newly formed Federal Reserve the perfect excuse to start printing more money, leading to the decline of the value of the US dollar ever since. And yeah, we can see that right here in this chart, which starts and was at its peak in 1913. We can also see in this buying power equivalent chart for $100, meaning higher is worse, that for hundreds of years up until the creation of the Fed, the value of money remained pretty much stable until we hit 1913, where it's been skyrocketing into worthlessness ever since. This basically means that what we could have bought for $100 way back when, we now have to pay closer to $2,000 for the same value. Inflation, which started in 1913, while they try to convince us that it's a normal thing that every economy experiences. And the craziest part is that a year before, in 1912, when talks about forming the Federal Reserve were going on, there were three prominent bankers who strongly opposed its formation: John Jacob Astor IV, Isidor Strass, and Benjamin Guggenheim, who were setting sail across the Atlantic to America in discussion of the Federal Reserve, on a ship owned by J.P. Morgan, who was in favor of the Fed and was supposed to join them on their journey, but backed out last second. That ship that set sail was the Titanic, which sank and those three bankers perished, finalizing the creation of the Federal Reserve that controls all of your money. If anyone ever asks who they are, well, this is exactly who. 1913 in a nutshell. And if you want to create your own apps that filter past the censorship of big tech search engines, or just about any other app idea you can come up with, try out Emergent for an easy way for you and I to seek the truth.